All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is section 3.1, identifying pairs of lines and angles. We're going to start out with a couple of vocabulary terms. You've all heard of parallel lines before. I just want to give you a couple of other things that are important about them. First of all, parallel lines are two lines that are coplanar. That means they have to be on the same plane. And then they are also two lines that cannot touch. So two lines that don't ever touch. So parallel lines, we're always talking about two lines that are coplanar and that don't ever touch. And if I look over at my picture, I can see that line M and line N on my picture are two lines that are parallel. And it shows me that parallel lines can be marked either by parallel lines like this, or if I have a line already, by a little diamond or triangle that's on there. Skew lines are a different kind of lines. Skew lines are lines that are non-coplanar. So two lines that are not on the same plane and that they do not touch. So two lines that are not coplanar and do not touch. Again, if I look at my picture, I can see some lines there. I see a line K that's going up and down, and then I see my two parallel lines, line M and line N. If I were to trace line K, I would see that it does intersect with line N. So two lines that would be coplanar, that are skew, that are not coplanar, are line K and line M. They do not touch. Parallel planes are two planes that are not coplanar. They do not intersect. They are on different levels. So if I think of like a floor and a ceiling, those are two planes that are on different levels. In my picture, it's plane T and plane U. All right, so we've talked about how parallel lines are notated. That's going to be important as we go further. So I'm going to have you guys stop and try this on your own, and then we'll come back to it. So in our examples, we're naming any line segment that's parallel to CD and containing point A. So here's line CD here. Now, I can go ahead and name all my other line segments that are parallel to line segment CD, line CD. They're all the lines that are going the same. So there's only one of those lines that also contains point A. So I would say segment AB is parallel to segment CD. Now, if I'm going to name a line segment skew to CD and containing point A, remember skew lines go in the opposite direction and they have to be on a different plane, so they can't ever touch. So that line would work, that line would work. They're on different planes and they don't touch. There's quite a few of them that would work in that case. I'm going to say, though, that we will call that AH. A line segment perpendicular to CD and containing point A. Remember, perpendicular lines, you don't know it's perpendicular unless you see that right angle sign. So a line segment perpendicular to CD and containing point A can only be DA or AD. And then any planes parallel to plane EFG. Well, plane EFG is down here on the floor. So the other plane that's going to be parallel to my floor is my ceiling. And I name a plane with any 3 points. So I could say plane CDA or any of the other. Now there's a couple of postulates that we want to remember. The first talks about the parallel postulate. It says if there's a line and a point that's not on the line, so here's our line, here's our point that's off the line, then there is exactly one and only one line that is parallel through that point. So in other words, if I drew a line a little bit like this, it wouldn't be parallel anymore. So there's only one line, one and only. Same thing with the perpendicular line. If there's a line and a point, not a line, then there is exactly one line that is perpendicular. So remember that, one line perpendicular. Now we're going to be doing some more vocabulary. I'm going to move this here so we can see the rest of this. Whoa. There we go. This is vocabulary that we're going to use on into Chapter 4 as we're doing more and more proofs. And so that's some more vocabulary that we need to think about. The first thing we're talking about is a transversal. If you look at our picture over here, I see two lines, and then I see a line in the middle. A transversal is a line that cuts through two other lines. We're not talking about parallel lines or anything else. It's just a line that cuts through two other lines. And so this is my transversal. And you can abbreviate two lines cut by transversal, which makes it a little bit easier. And when we have those lines that are cut by a transversal, we end up forming some different kinds of angle relationships. So I want to talk first about corresponding angles. I'm going to grab another color here. So corresponding angles, if you think about your desks, you sit in tables of 4. And if one person is sitting at the back of the first set of tables, there's another person sitting in exactly the same spot at the next set of tables in the corresponding spot. That is the same as a corresponding angle. So my corresponding angles are going to be angle 1 and angle 5, angle 2 and angle 6, angle 3 and angle 7, and angle 4 and angle 8. Corresponding means in the same place. Now we have to define a couple of things here about what is alternate and what is interior and exterior. Alternate means we are on different sides of the transversal. So alternate is always going to be on different sides. Okay, so I'm going to look first at my interior. And if I circle those 4 angles that are inside of my two lines, I see I have angle 2, angle 5, angle 4, and angle 7. If I'm going to talk about alternate interior angles, angles that are on different sides of the transversal, I would have angle 2 and angle 7. And I would have angle 4 and angle 5. 4 and 5. They're on different sides of that transversal. Same thing with the alternate exterior angles. Here, I'm going to be on the outside of my two lines. And I'm going to go on opposite sides. So I'm going to have angle 1 and angle 8. And I am going to have angle 3 and angle 6. Now my last thing goes back to my inside. We know interior means in, exterior means out. So consecutive means I'm on the same side of that transversal. So my consecutive interior angles are angle 2 and angle 5 and angle 4 and angle 7. We're going to be doing a lot with these angles. We're going to be doing a lot with these words and vocabulary. So it might be a good idea to continue to add to your note cards on this.